I'd like to welcome everybody to the Commissioners meeting for September 26th. All those present, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Enzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Any upcoming commissioner absences? All right, seeing none. Any communications?
No communications.
Okay. Look for motion to approve the minutes of our September 12th meeting. So moved. Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Enzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Vouchers.
Well, then we approve account payable vouchers 2000024 through 2000081, payroll vouchers 200007 through 200023 for subtotal $1,326,008.70, and ACH payroll transfer and wire transfer fees for subtotal $1,491,961.59 for a grand total of $2,817,970.29 as outlined in the agenda.
Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Enzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. And that brings us to local 3390 report. Anything, President? No. Thank you for being here. Chief's report.
All right, Chief Black is up first. Good evening. Just an update. We're doing an upfitting down at Station 52, and we've had that station closed for almost a month now. Going to have it closed for about 3 more weeks while we're getting some concrete work done and just making that station a little bit better. We had moved that crew out to Station 53, and they're doing great work out there, and so we'll be getting that all put back together here in about 3 weeks, and then shortly after that, hopefully John's going to take over and get 53 and 57 going for us. So we are in the process of mechanic hiring. We interviewed 2 people today, and excited about both of them. We have 2 people for tomorrow, and then we'll move them on and go to chief's interviews, and then hopefully through the process and have someone on board about the 1st of November. So we're excited to get that back up to full speed again. And then last week for me is engine spec committee. I've got a new spec for those that might want to look at that drawing after the meeting. And we are really close. And we've got everything kind of situated and hammered out. And so we're excited to be ready to work through finance with that, and then hopefully be ordering very soon. Any questions? Thank you. And the report.
All right, Chief Booth. Good evening. I wanted to report on several things that I've spoken of in the past. We received the grant money from L&I. We've already ordered the PFAS-free flash sheds that we're going to be using for rehab. There's 40 of those. That'll give us an opportunity to not only put our members into clean hoods when they re-engage and they come out of a fire scene, it'll also give us an opportunity to trial some PFAS-free equipment for future purchases as we move away from PFAS and our PPE. JJ has got a final quote for the extractor and dryer for the training facility, and we're working on getting that stuff lined up, and then we'll be making those purchases and committing our 1/3 match to the grant money. The focus workshop, you remember back in May, we did the safety survey. I finally heard back from folks that they've crunched the data, so to speak, and they're going to be hosting a 2-day in-person workshop in Tukwila. Myself and Chris Bracken, on behalf of the local, will be going up there for 2 days to not only receive our results, but to help us interpret our results and then to give us actionable things that we can do to try to address concerns, should there be any in the results. So I'm excited. That's this coming Monday and Tuesday. I'm excited to get up there and dig into that and see what the members had to say. And then lastly, I reported the last meeting that we co-hosted a emergency preparedness event at Station 53 on the 16th, Saturday the 16th, along with DEM and FICRA. There were about 40 people in attendance, is what I've heard, and the feedback was great. It's very well appreciated. Hearing from Chief Meyer talking about wildland urban interface, and then hearing from DEM specific to evacuations, alerting, and then shelter in place. I might have even heard that Commissioner Nelson popped in for part of that. So at any rate, what I've heard has been all positive, both from DEM, and they're excited to continue to work together with us, which is really super encouraging. I'll look for more opportunities for that in the future, as well as to kind of empower FICRA to continue their mission, which has been going on for a decade or more. Any questions or comments? All right. Thank you.
All right, today I went to Tumwater and had lunch with Fire Chief there, Brian Hurley, and talking about strategic planning mostly, and then just how we partner together. As you know, I reported last time I was elected to the Washington Fire Chiefs Board, and I had my first board meeting the next day. I want to let you know that I have moved seats on the Washington Fire Chief Board. There is a board of directors, and then there's one seat that is the representative to the Western Fire Chiefs. That position was open, so they voted to move me to that position and filled my position on the board. So I am now the Washington Fire Chiefs representative to the Western Fire Chiefs. So I'm on that board. So that happened last week. I started a leadership series within the department that we post on Vector Solution every 2 weeks, just a few minutes about our philosophies on leadership and building a healthy organization and a healthy team. Some members have given me feedback on things they'd like me to address, so that just started a couple of weeks ago and is on Vector Solution. Next Friday, October 6th, is the Pull for a Soldier. And we have two Gig Harbor Fire teams that will be competing in that. I'll be one of the members in that. We're excited to do that next October 6th. And that's for permission to start dreaming. Lastly, one of the things that we're working on within our fire department is just trying to define our level of service in each area. You know, we did our standard of cover when I first arrived, that went through our risk assessment and then kind of defined what is our level of service at that moment, at that time. One of the things that we've been talking about is trying to maybe narrow our focus, where we provide a lot of services and sometimes we get too many services. So we're spending time going through each thing that we do and evaluating it. Fire is pretty straightforward. I think we focus on that quite a bit. We have 5 engines, 3 medic units, command staff that respond to fires. EMS, the EMS chief, Dumas, and the MSOs, battalion chiefs are coming together just to define our level of service and looking at it in the future. Should we have ALS engine company? Should we have BLS ambulances? What's the best level of service? Should we have two medics on our ALS rig? So they're in the process of tackling that and coming back with recommendation on what's the proper level of service that we should provide within our budget constraints and our people constraints. So that is being kicked off right now. Also, our technical rescue team with PSORT, PC hit going away. By the end of this year, we will no longer have that. What is our level of service at Gig Harbor? So by January 31st, the team is looking at our technical rescue team and all the 7, the word totally escapes me, disciplines. Thank you. The 7 disciplines, there's 9 also, it depends what NFPA you look at. But what should we be? Technician level, awareness level, operations level, and all those. So they're evaluating the risk, the money, the people, the time, the capacity, and they're going to come back with a recommendation with tech rescue on what we should be. At the same time, we as a command staff and general staff have been looking at hazardous materials. What level of service can and should we provide as a hazardous materials team within the department? Our recommendation is that
by the end of this year, when PC hit drops away, that we drop from technician level to operations level. As a department, we'll still have technicians. Technicians still get their extra pay, but we're going to ask our technicians to help put together the plan, help train our entire department to drop to that operations level of service. And then we are working countywide on as fire chiefs and county chiefs, we have a meeting this week, a mutual aid agreement. So that when we do have an event, we can mutual aid and ask other departments to come help us. Essentially, it's what we do now. We show up, we don't have enough technicians to make entry as it is. So we show up, we isolate, we deny entry, we got wind, we got hell, we get out our books, we look at it and call for help. In essence, that's what we're going to do, but we're not going to continue to grow the amount of technicians that we have in our department, and we're going to go to an operations level. I bring that to you because that's a decision that we would like to make by the end of the year, and but I wanted to get your feedback also. If all 5 of you are like, absolutely not, we need to have a full hazmat tech team and staff it and buy the equipment, then we'll have a different conversation within the department. But I don't think there's any action that needs to be taken. We're just going to drop our level of service at the end of the year to operations level. And I wanted you to know that in case there was concern. One way to look at it is how many calls, right? I think calls are important, but you can't always just look at the number of calls. Although I did have Tanya pull up because I thought you might ask that question. And we have had 32 calls, but that can be a cup of gas, right? All the way up to a large incident. In the past 24 months, in the county, we've had 3 that we know of. Sumner cold storage incident with a fire with hazmat. West Pierce had a fire with a hazmat. And in Gig Harbor, we had 5 barrels that were abandoned on the side of the road. Three of instances, but it's not always just about the number that comes into play, but it's not the entire decision. You have to look at the risk in our county. We do a risk, and hazmat is a high risk. We have a freeway going through our city, right? We have chlorine tanks at the water treatment plant at the Y. But we also have to have the staff, and we also have to have the money to buy all the equipment that's needed to run a hazmat team. In Boise, we had 19 fire engines and a lot of people. We struggled to keep a hazardous materials team. Really difficult, very, very expensive. And with only 22 people on duty at a time, we cannot even field the hazmat technician team. So that's our recommendation. Again, there's no action. You can come back to me if you feel strongly that we're headed in the wrong direction and we can reevaluate. But that's our recommendation, is that by the end of this year, we drop to operations level rather than technician level. Yes, sir.
On the technical rescue, are we going to be, I mean, we have a lot of cliffs around here, and I don't know if we service any part of the Narrows Bridge, for sure. We have a lot of cliffs. We just had the one cave in somewhere, the guy over 40 feet left for construction. Are we still going to have, and I know as an accident investigator, I know how it is to use it or lose it, and I was losing it because I wasn't having that many accidents to investigate in the city to the level of what I've been trained on. So you start losing it on there. Are we going to have people that are trained if we need to do a cave in or somebody over the cliff? And we still got that level of training to take care of that?
Yeah, so hazmat, we want to drop to operations level. Technical rescue is a different animal, and that's being evaluated by the team. I've asked the team to come back with a recommendation, and they'll look at the 7 disciplines. So there's structure collapse, rope rescue, confined space, vehicle machinery search and rescue, water search and rescue, wilderness search and rescue, trench evacuation search and rescue. So they'll look at those 7, and we may be tech in 2 or 3 of them, and maybe operations or awareness in some of the others. But we have to look at the risk, the capabilities, the amount, the money, the capacity, and the people on each one of those. So some of them we may be tech. My crystal ball is we're gonna have to be tech and rope rescue. We don't have truck companies. We're gonna have to, probably in structural collapse, maybe even a rope rescue, probably in water search and rescue. But wilderness search and rescue, maybe not. Maybe trench. Trench is really heavily equipment people. And that's really difficult to be tech rescue. So again, I'm just thinking that the team is gonna evaluate each one of those. Look at our capacity, look at our people, look at our finances, look at all those things. They're gonna come back with a recommendation to us as a command and general staff. And then we're gonna evaluate that. So I don't have an answer yet until the recommendation comes, but we're gonna have to be technician level in some of these disciplines like rope rescue. We don't have a truck company. We're gonna have to be technician in some of those disciplines, but I don't think we need to be or should be or can be in all 7 of the disciplines, if that makes sense. So we're just a department that needs to evaluate what we are and what we have and what we have the capabilities of, and narrow our focus, be excellent at what we can be, which is structure fires, EMS, wildland, and now we have to define our level of service in tech rescue and hazmat. So tech rescue, a recommendation, like I said, should come to me about January 31st, and we'll mull it over, we'll talk about it, and we'll bring it to you. But in hazmat, it's our recommendation that we drop from technician level to operations level. That was a lot of talking, but hopefully it made sense.
Any questions?
Right?
At the end of your report.
Sorry. Yes, that's the end of my chief's report.
Thank you. Any standing committee reports?
The insurance committee, which is Commissioner Nelson and myself, along with Chief Oldenburg, met with, excuse me, 20-year insurance. And our increase as far as premium is going to be just under 18%. All things considered, if you've been to the grocery store, 18% is not bad. But look out next year and the year after, as we add buildings and refurbish buildings, that's one thing. And where the problem I think is going to be is not the type of or the expensive charges as much as the frequency. We've gone through this probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and we had to ask one of our districts to leave because they were just nitpicking everything. And so the underwriters would see all the frequency and jacking everybody's rates up. So I would think ours is not for that reason. Ours is going to be going up because we're going to have more structures. We're going to have newer engines in the next couple of years. So I don't have the figure in front of me right now, but it's going to be 17.8% increase. I'm sure next year is going to be considerably more. On the side, I think Chief Oldenburg is doing a great job. In the past, the group West Central and Gig Harbor would meet and just kind of listen, and that was it. He asked very thoughtful, concise questions that totally make sense to me. I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's scary.
That's why I said I don't know if it's good or bad. But on the insurance side, I couldn't be more happy that that's in his wheelhouse. He's handling it, and he's, in my opinion, doing a great job. But that's where we're at now. So I haven't talked to Commissioner Nelson, but we don't have to vote on it. But my recommendation is we all nod on it. Yeah, 40-year. I'm a believer in going out to bids. except when it comes to this. They've got a lot of history with the West Central group. And I believe that they're looking out for our best interest, personally. Now, maybe I'm being Pollyanna, but that's okay. I think they're doing a great job. That's it. Thank you.
But we're a big customer though. I mean, weren't we a sizable customer for them though?
Well, of the group, we're the smallest.
Okay.
Now, as a group, yeah, you've got Central, West and us. I don't know that we're the biggest. We're probably one of the biggest of their customers and very well could be the biggest. But, and I'm sure there's other brokers that would love to take that group. But again, I think they've got some history going back many years. Prior to Fournier, they took over from something Belangi way back when. And I would, at least at this point in time, I would hope we stay with them for the foreseeable future. Thank you.
No, I agree with Tom.
Any other committees? Okay. That brings us to item 10 on the agenda, finance report. Crystal.
Not sure how well you'll see it from here. I'll speak to it. This is included in the board packet on page 20, so feel free to look at it at your convenience. Yeah, okay, that's kind of small. Okay, so speaking in the same format as we have all year, this is the August 2023 monthly report. The only highlights I have on the revenue side, this is probably our smallest month for revenue collections for the year. This is typical as in other years. It's the last couple of months right before our next property tax collections. So this is typical and anticipated. So I don't have much else to say on the revenue. On the operating expenses, our August expenses are very similar to the last couple of months. Very similar to our prior month for June as well. And then moving into the expenses by division, this is still the same information, but displayed by the divisions as well, for awareness. Everything looks good. I would say legislative looks a little light. That is anticipated. The particular item that's outstanding on that is our invoice for the last election. So we haven't done that over yet. So from a percentage standpoint, it does look a little light, but anticipated and coming. On the capital fund, this is currently still pretty typical in terms of our expenses for the last couple of months. I know we're kind of in a holding pattern before some of our larger expenditures are coming. So most of this budget from a percentage standpoint, it looks pretty low. I'm sure JJ can speak to the schedule and where that is anticipated. And then on the ending cash, I just want to highlight for our cash for our general expense is probably the lowest it's been this year. That's also anticipated just due to the timing of our revenue collections. Reserve fund's pretty stable. Capital fund has maintained its fund balance. There's two factors to that. One, as we can see from the capital bond spending is on a slower pace in the first 2 quarters of the year, as well as the interest earned in all of our funds is quite generous in 2023. So we have been accruing quite a bit of interest in that capital fund. So that's, while it looks like we haven't spent any money in the capital fund this year, we just have also been earning interest in 2023. And that is all I have on the monthly report, unless you guys have any questions.
I don't have anything for a chairman's report this evening. That brings us to item 12, 2022 bond update. Chief Johnson.
Well, good evening. So as Crystal foreshadowed, some updates. I'll just go project by project as we move down through the list. Training campus, we are still working through just some minor comments from Pierce County and addressing those, getting them kind of moved through. I mentioned I believe in the last meeting, we are looking, some new standards require the retention pond to have a liner. That work has been done. We're waiting for the report to come back. That's one of the bigger things and outstanding for the training campus. Hoping for permits. The last generalization will be the last quarter of the year. And it's a 3-month period. That's what we're shooting for. So good news, a week or so ago, station 53, we received construction permits for that station. So we're kind of in a holding pattern now that that's all done. We're waiting for 57 because the goal is to have both of those construction permits in hand, and then we will go out to bid, and both of those will be a single project. Coming to 57, we should have the permit anytime. At some point, the county will get tired of hearing from myself and Rice Fergus. We had one issue that we were waiting on, and it was moving a drain that's currently in the driveway. So that had to go through the Department of Ecology, through the county, through the Department of Ecology. Well, the Department of Ecology has approved what we're doing. So now it's sitting at the county, and we're just waiting for that approval. And that is the last item that's holding us up from getting a permit for station 57. Station 51, we've been working on right sizing the size of the station and its components. As we reported before, and I sent you some drawings, we've eliminated nap bay, we've eliminated 2 sleep rooms, we're down to 11. So roughly it's a just under a 20,000 square foot station. We have started some preliminary work already for the site. Last week we had materials collection. So company comes out and takes samples of the covering on the walls, the carpet, goes in they went in the crawl space, the attic, everywhere, and are taking samples. And that's in preparation for demolition of the station. So they're in essence seeking out any of the hazardous materials that we have to mitigate before we tear it down. So that's all done. Once again, waiting for the report. The other thing that's happening will happen on October 2nd. We'll have some monitoring wells drilled. One is to take some soil samples, just seismically look at what's there. We all know that nothing has moved on that site since the mid-70s, but we still have to do that. But in our preliminary meeting with the city of Gig Harbor, the size of the project and some of the things that we're going to do, mainly surface water retention pond or burying tanks. They didn't commit, but they didn't say no to groundwater monitoring as a requirement. We don't have the time or want to wait because their monitoring period is December to March. So if we don't do it now, and then we start with our plans, submit them, and they say we can't do anything until we get groundwater monitoring data, then we have to wait an entire year. So we will be sinking a well to monitor the water from December to March in prep for going to the city with plans. And then the last thing, logistics. Chief Black and I are looking at options. We are working with Rice Fergus Miller currently to give us some, just like what you saw for 51, just some schematic drawings of potential of what 54 could be. We've also looked at some other sites, and we'll continue looking at other sites. Just kind of keeping our eye out to see if there is something better or something that we want to acquire. But right now we're marching down the road of redoing 54 as our logistics facility. And my update, any questions?
Help me out here, because the last time we touched 50, I'm sitting here trying to remember backwards. We had bids individually, one for 53, one for 57. I can't remember. And maybe there's documentation, if that was because maybe the Quins got involved, I honestly don't remember.
No, every station was bid individually, or, you know, we got an estimate individually. It's up to us to go out to bid as a project. When 57 was and 53 were done in between 2010 and 2012, it was bid differently because they were expected to start at different times. They wound up starting pretty close. They wound up being two separate contractors, which actually caused a lot of heartache in the entire process. By going and bidding them together, we pull in a larger pool of people that we expect to make a bid, and stations will then actually be the same. From the outside, the stations are the same right now, but there are nuances between the two stations. And we want them to be logistically for Jason and his division in the future, we want them all to be the same. So, does that answer your question?
Pretty much. Like I say, I was sitting here thinking on that and going backwards, and I couldn't remember exactly why we went separately. And you're right. We had some problems. Yeah. Without getting into them. So one contractor, both stations makes total sense.
Thank you.
I have a question, and I know you can't answer it, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Because I want to just think about it. As we're downsizing 51, do you have any estimate or any idea of what that might save on the estimated budget?
So initial numbers, and mind you, as I explained to Chief Doan and command staff right now, we have estimates done at certain parts of the process. Estimating companies are roughly 6 to 9 months behind what's actually happening today. So by eliminating space, an out bay, some other rooms that we didn't need, the initial, if we look at our capital facilities plan that we had, Station 51 was a $25 million project. I'm at just over 20 million now.
Okay, that's perfect. Sorry, you can answer it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to be able to, but
So that's in today's time, and I think I've told you in the past. We look to, at least we have partners around us. Central Kitsap and East Pierce are just ahead of us in bidding those projects. Central Kitsap's Station 51 was initially going into the bid process was right at 14 million. It came back at 11.45. So
going the right way.
yeah, going the right way, but Crystal keeps telling me that I have to spend money now. So working on that. I'm working on spending, but saving.
Any other questions for Chief Johnson? Thank you. I don't see any old business. Gets us down to new business, 2024 budget, presentation of first draft. Crystal?
I'm gonna kick us off here, both A, B, C, and D, on some high level stuff on 23 budget, and then I'll get into 24. So on, if you'll remember, thinking back to last year when we were creating this budget, we changed the budget allocations by division. A lot of things were grouped into pools of money. We'll call it overtime was just one pool of money. The logistics was using it, and operations was using it, prevention, and we didn't have a good handle on it. That's just one example. Crystal did a great job creating last year's budget. We did it per division. We didn't have a lot of history because how much of it came from each division. We did our best. So this is our first year under a new budget. One of the things that we were under in 2022 was personnel. We were over budget by about $800,000. And she can correct me if my swag numbers are off. So when we built 2023 budget, it wouldn't be very smart to build a number that didn't have that include that $800,000, and that's what we did. Now we knew that the previous year that was due to a lot of vacancies. We had 2 recruit classes going on. We had quite a few retirements. We knew most of it was, could come from that, but we also, knew there were other factors. So as we've been evaluating that overtime budget coming into this year, obviously, it's coming in like we'd hope, it's coming in a little under. Remember, we increased it by over $800,000. We have put together as a command and general staff, a list of priorities of things if we had some capacity in this year's budget, of things that we wanted to do or needed to do, one-time type funds. The first is our physicals we found out, underfunded. There was multiple reasons why it happened, but it's our annual physicals for our firefighters, which we need to do and we have to do. And that line item is underfunded. Some bills came in from previous years. Chief Booth has fixed that, so that won't happen again. But so any capacity that we have, one of the first things that we're going to cover is our annual physicals for our firefighters. Some other things that we've been looking at. A second one is we're going to need to have some capacity in there for our IT consortium. We have an IT budget built for next year, and we have a budget this year, but there's going to be some unintended expenses or unanticipated expenses in IT, and we want to hold back some money for that. A third thing that we have come up with that is the third and fourth that is important to us is an HR software and our payroll software that will, and Crystal's going to go over that, and that's for you today. So it's around 80, I don't want to steal her thunder, and she can tell you all the details around it, but it's around $80,000. And that's where we want to, in our priority list capacity, purchase an HR and payroll software. And then also another one that may be coming later is Lexipol. Lexipol would help us with our policies and our procedures, and we'll talk about that later. But in the 2023 budget, any capacity that we have, we put together a priority list, and one of them was our defibrillators, and we already took care of that problem. In fact, I hear they got delivered this maybe today, right? So that's exciting. We've got that off the books. We got the engines that were being purchased with bond. We got physicals that we're going to take care of capacity. And the next thing that we want to do is purchase an HR software. So before I turn it over to Crystal, now I want to talk a little bit about 24 budget and the budget build process, and make sure I am meeting your expectations for the level of detail that we have. My preference is to follow what we did last year at a high level, maybe even a division level. We will bring you any changes from year over year. I don't anticipate us having the capacity to add any new FTEs. We'll replace some FTEs, but not add any FTEs or have any new programs. But we will come to you and tell you any changes that we made. But I'd like to, and make sure I'm hitting the mark, have more of a divisional budget at a high level. I know Commissioner Sudich would like a detailed budget, and Crystal is preparing that, and we'll make sure and give you that. But I would rather that we pass a high level budget, so that those, and we'll show you the details of how that is built. But I just want to make sure that I'm meeting your expectations, your mark. It'll be a lot like last year, and I just want to make sure that's okay so that we don't have any surprises. So you don't have to answer that right this moment. Crystal will go over the plan for 24. She'll go talk to you about the UKG HR payroll software, and I'll turn it over to her.
This one should be easier to see on the screen. This is also included in tonight's agenda packet on pages 21 to page 34. This is going to be a very similar format as we did for the September preliminary budget last year. So first, I just want to speak to what the goal of today's presentation is for this budget. Is to kind of highlight the priorities that we've identified for 2024, outline any of the base assumptions we've included in this following budget. It will go over a high-level budget summary that you'll have included here in the packet. We'll go over the current budget timeline that's also included in this packet, and then there'll be an opportunity for discussion and any questions. So moving into our priorities for 2024, some of these are carryover priorities from the prior year. A balanced budget is a GFOA best practice that will be a continuing priority that we will have on our annual budgets. That our reserve requirements are met. This will continue to be an annual priority. So in 2024, as our budget grows, our reserve requirement also grows. So there will be an annual contribution to our reserve to meet that district policy. Making sure that we've met our commitments and our obligations. This was also a priority in 23, continues to be a priority in 2024. This includes any contractual agreements, inflationary contracts, increases, anything that is more things that maybe not legally committed from a contractual standpoint, but things that we do know that will continue. For example, fuel prices are continuing to increase. Our fuel budget will be increased accordingly to meet that commitment in 2024. And then the new item for 2024 is to incorporate our strategic priorities that we've identified and discussed in the multi-year capital asset plan. So the multi-year capital asset plan, we have presented both internally within the district and with the board earlier in the year. We did identify certain capital assets that would be replaced both in 2024 and beyond. And the 2024 budget does include the first year of those priorities.
Pause right there and hone in on that point just a little bit. I had it here and I didn't say it, but building the 2024, that is one of our, Crystal went through our priorities, but it's putting money away for the future so that we don't have the capital problem that we have today, right? We have a capital, both engines and equipment and station problems. So it's taking care of those assets, building it into our base budget and having the money for that multiple to long year capital plan is a high priority, and any capacity that we have in the 2024 budget and it's going to be a significant amount.
Okay, moving into our base assumptions for this budget. This is year 2 of year 3 for the collective bargaining agreement. There are a couple of items that were included in year 2 of year 3, so this includes all those necessary adjustments. 2023 one-time budget items removed. So what that meant is that anything that was in the budget that was one-time in nature has been removed and not carried forward to the future year. This also includes all the carryover items that we did a budget amendment for in February. So all of those were also one-time in nature. So those have been removed or not included in the 2024 budget. Going into contractually committed items. So these are the contracts and the inflationary increases that we are known and aware about. The insurance premium for next year is a great example. So we have known that that increase is coming and included in this budget. And then the new thing for 2024, it does include transfers for a variety of things. The local program, that is the item that we approved last month for the SCBA equipment and our EMS medical equipment. So the debt payments, the full amount of the debt payment starts in 24. Our reserve policy requirement contributions, and then any capital assets through the replacement plan are included here in 2024. Some of the key budget drivers for 2024. The main item is our capital asset plan that was developed and incorporating those replacement of assets. And then the item that still continues to follow us into 2024 is our aging fleet and facilities. So even as we continue to invest in our capital assets in 24, we still have existing assets and facilities we need to maintain in the future year. So we will have some increased repair and maintenance, parts and labor for fleet and facilities, and from our existing utilities that will continue into 2024. For example, even when we order engines, it's gonna be a while until they arrive. So we anticipate our repair and maintenance in 2024 to continue to be high. Some of the key items to consider for 2024. This does include the fire levy lid lift that was approved by voters in August at $1.50. It does include the preliminary estimates provided by Pierce County for our assessed valuation for next year. And the one piece that you won't see in detail, the debt fund budgets, we will provide in additional detail as well in the October meetings. Capital in particular is still very much being adjusted as we learn more information. So that one I anticipate will change from meeting to meeting until we get to adoption as we learn more about those projects. Okay, moving into the budget structure, it is almost identical to 2023, except one key organizational change that was made in 23. The IT and data processing was moved under finance and admin. So that's the one key difference. From a chart of account standpoint, that information is still the same. It's just where it is housed from a display standpoint. So there's not a lot of changes there. Here is a high-level overview by our divisions for the preliminary budget for 2024. Ignore my typo here at the top. We have $41.3 million. The one thing that you'll notice from a percent standpoint and dollar standpoint, finance and admin does look really high. That is because our transfers to other funds and our reserve contributions and our debt payments are actually included in the finance and admin area. So we'll see that in a little more detail on what that is, but that is why the finance and admin area looks higher in 2024. This is the same information, but split by the category, object code categories. So salary and benefits are very similar. The percentages do shift a little bit because we have two new categories that you'll see on this pie chart that were not there for 2023, capital and transfers. So capital will go into a little more detail a bit later. And then those transfers are contributions to pay for our debt service for the local program, because that actually goes into a different fund. And then our capital replacement is due. It's a little hard to see from here. This is the same split as we had from last year, but just gives you a different comparison from the prior year. So salaries and benefits, there are no new staff, no new FTEs included in here. The salary increases are purely just contractual obligations. CPI is 4.6%. And then there are a couple of new premiums that were negotiated through that contract. For example, the driver operator program is included in 2024. Benefits are pretty similar to the prior year. Maintenance and operations, most of that increase is inflationary and contractual obligations only. Capital, I'm going to go into a little more detail and just highlight, there are a couple of things that you are aware of that are included in here. We have the medic unit that was ordered in 2022 that will arrive next year. That is included here. The Type 3 engine, same thing, ordered in 22, will arrive in 24. And then we have 5 utility vehicles that are up for replacement that are included in that capital area. Those are years 2005 to 2008 for vehicles. So our oldest utility assets that are scheduled for replacement. Moving into the transfers, what we have here is our local program, the debt service of $465,000, our reserve requirements, and our contribution to the capital asset program for the capital asset replacement. So the capital transfers are the two key areas that really represent most of the increase from 2023 to 2024. Does that have any questions before I move on to the next slide? This is just kind of a highlight of the key changes from 23 to 24, just for awareness. Our net increase from the prior year is $5.9 million. 2.2 million of that is salary and benefits. Like I said, there are no new FTEs included in here. So this is just contractually obligated increases. Capital investments and our transfers that I went into a little bit of details, 2.7 million. And then inflationary and contract increases is $950,000. So those are the three key areas of the differences from 2023 to 2024. And then high level, this is just a high summary level of all of our funds before we move into the detail in the next meeting. Our budget, including all of our funds, is $70.5 million for 2024. Includes the $41 million for the operating fund, 4.6 million for debt service. You'll notice that is a little bit higher than last year. Twofold. One, we have the local program contribution that starts in 2024. And our bond payment does increase slightly in 2024, so that's incorporated here. And then the capital projects fund will go into a little bit more detail at the next meeting. Right now, with early estimates from Rice Fergus Miller, we have that at $24.6 million. So hopefully we can move forward on that spending pace to meet the bond requirement for our capital program. But before I go to the timeline, does anyone have any questions about any of the slides? Okay, moving into our timeline, we published the budget timeline last meeting. This is the first high level budget draft. Next meeting will be the second draft. We'll have the debt service budget and the capital budget and additional levels of detail. The third hearing and third draft will be the October 24th meeting. That will also have our revenue hearing, so we'll go into more detail on the revenue. And then a budget adoption scheduled for November 14th. This is one meeting earlier than we have done in the last few years. This is mostly due to the next meeting being really close to the county assessor's deadline. But we do have one more meeting if there is any request for additional information or meetings that go into that if November 14th doesn't hit. And then everything is due to the county November 30th. That is it for the first draft of the 2024 preliminary budget. If anyone has any questions.
So I just want to get feedback that we're hitting the right mark at a high level, that slide with the increases. It's pretty much, like we're not having any new programs, no new FTEs, salary and benefits. We're going to put some capital investment in, and at a high level, that's our budget, right? There's going to be some shuffling, like Chief Booth's line item of physicals was underfunded, and we're going to prop that up. So there's going to be a lot of internal moving like that. But these are the larger expenditures, and I want to make sure I'm giving you the detail that you need, and we're heading in the direction that you want. Shaking heads means continue. I'll do that. Next one is our request for the payroll and HR software that Crystal can answer. Any questions yet?
Okay, we have two items to go over and seeking action from the board today. They're both included in the packet. We have two software contracts, software as a service contract. The first one is UKG Ready. That is primarily for the HR module that UKG Ready offers. We currently do not have an HR software. So this would incorporate a lot of things that are done behind the scenes and manually and consolidating all those processes into an electronic process. And also looking at incorporating the payroll process within the UKG Ready platform. So moving into that, one of the reasons why we are seeking a new software, one for HR because we don't have one, but two for payroll, is to UKG Ready was a particular company that was able to integrate with Telestaff. So we do have some efficiencies that we'll gain by utilizing them for our payroll software as well. by being able to incorporate all the data and the roster of the staff that's available within all the staff. So we did find as we were evaluating software, this started more as looking at what finance softwares are available to us. We were looking at trying to find an ERP suite that would be able to house all of the applicable modules we would need, whether that's finance and AP and procurement and HR and payroll. We did go through quite a process of evaluating several vendors, going through the demo process and trying with that less goal of having one software platform for them all. That did not pan out as we had hoped. There were a lot of limitations on the HR side related to financial systems that also do HR. So there are very many financial suites that do HR, but a very small subset of that. So we started looking at additional software platforms that had a larger suite of services available to us from the HR side. So there are two softwares that we're going to talk about, one for HR and payroll and one for the financial system. The reason they are coming to your attention today, we did not budget or plan for a 2023 software replacement. So this is a new unbudgeted item in 2023. And per our policy for things that are new and unbudgeted and over $50,000 is allow for us to bring it to your attention and ask for a motion of the board to be able to proceed with any of those software contracts. So in the packet on page 35 is the Tyler Technologies packet, or Tyler Technologies contract. It's actually quite lengthy. You don't need to read it all. It has been reviewed by our attorney as well. It's page 35 to 114. And then the UKG ready proposal is page 115 to 128 in your packet. Both of those, we have gone through the competitive negotiation process. We have had it reviewed by our attorney. We are using competitive purchase agreements for both of those. So we do gain the competitive pricing under both of those competitive cooperatives. The only thing that I would mention about this year, we do currently have a financial software. So we have Springbrook and Vibe. So there will be some overlap in expenditure. So in 2023, we do have some increases in expenditures that we're bringing with this. For 2023, it's about $65,000 to $80,000 when you include the implementation costs and the first payment for those ongoing costs for both of those contracts. Moving into 2024, there wasn't quite as much overlap. There's a little bit of one-time needs on there that are included in the 2024 budget. So I just wanted to bring your attention on these. The Tyler Technologies contract does have a higher investment on the one-time implementation costs. One of the benefits to that one-time implementation cost is it does bring over all of our historical information. So I'll be able to have the procurement and the AP and the payroll information from the historical perspective imported over into the new system from both of those. So we have about $66,000 worth of one-time costs, and then with an annual commitment, including both of those software platforms for 2024 of $65,000. I will say it is a little higher than our current financial system. However, our current financial system does not include many of the modules we will be including in both of these new platforms. So it will have an actual procurement system with purchase order capabilities, with approvals and workflow capabilities, and have an actual HR module. It will have document management and retention. So there's a lot of capabilities that we will have and be able to incorporate within the district and improve our efficiencies by upgrading our technology for both of these.
Did the old system speak with telestaff or no?
No. I will say both financial systems can take data from telestaff. So I would say from evaluating all the different software platforms, all of them can accept and import from a timekeeping system. Telestaff is not the only timekeeping system available. Where I think UKG really stood apart from those that we evaluated and demoed was the ability to really provide the level of detail into the chart of accounts, into the type of data evaluation and monitoring we'd like to do from the salary and staffing level that the other ones really couldn't manage.
I hope you can't do it.
Just stay on it.
So is this, and I know we've done something before, I thought, is this taking us away from depending on the county for finance?
It does not change our relationship with the county currently. So the county is currently our treasurer and is right now continuing to do so. I would say having more functionality on the financial system side would get us closer. If that is a priority, we want to move away from the county as a treasurer, we could manage. But with our current software, we would not be able to manage as our own treasurer within the current framework that we have.
You're looking for a motion. I'd move that we approve entry of the contract with UKG Ready for HR and Payroll Software.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Ensing,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Suvich.
Yep.
Commissioner Wiltie,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes.
And I'll move that we approve entry of a contract with Tyler Technologies for financial system software.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Ensing,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Suvich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiltie.
Yeah.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you, guys.
That brings us to open public comment. Please state your name for the record and you will have 3 minutes. Is there anyone online? I have not seen any hands up.
Yeah, Carl and Mike Dumas are open.
That brings us to item 16, good of the order. Any good of the order? All right, seeing none. 17, special interests, upcoming events. Seeing none, I'll move that we adjourn the meeting. Next regular meeting will be held October 10th at 5 o'clock. Thank you.